Bear down, Chicago Bears. In the never-ending cycle of will they or won't they, we get another report. This one coming from Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, who now thinks that he has the inside line on what's going to happen to Justin Fields. Also, we've got some information about Steve Mongo McMichael. Make sure you stick around. Guys, if you like this type of content, please make sure that you help me out by hitting the subscribe button, the like button, the bell to be notified of future content. And let's kick this off with first up, is Justin out? Now, the articles are saying the intensity of the Justin Fields watch has increased. People are saying that Chicago Bears are going to move on quickly when we get to the scouting combine, which starts tomorrow on Monday, February 26th. So there's going to be a lot of people looking at a lot of athletes trying to figure out who are the best people and the best fits for each team, with the Chicago Bears being one of them, to find out if they are a player. And if they are a player, are they going for Caleb Williams? Are they going for Marvin Harrison Jr.? The Bears have a lot of work to do. Now, draft analysts have their own opinions. And a couple of days ago, starting in Sports Illustrated, you saw this article appear, and it says the intensity of the Justin Fields watch increases. And basically, this is Albert Breer, who has decided that this is what's going to happen. That what will happen is that the Bears have got to move on. That this is the moment where he's hearing inside rumblings, unsourced inside rumblings, that the Bears are looking to make a move as quickly as this week. So he says here, SI.com Breer told ESPN AM 1000 listeners as much during a radio appearance with David Kaplan, Jonathan Hood on Friday. I think the bones of the trade will be set next week. And remember, this coming week at the Combine, that's when the ball really starts rolling on trading the number one overall pick. So I expect whatever the plan is, the execution of it really kind of gets going next week. I think, as we've talked about the last 6 months or so, circumstances just a really weird one when you wind up with some of the other teams' picks and that teams wind up with the worst team in the league. So what he's saying is basically that if Justin had become Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or any of these guys, we'd be having a different conversation. But because there's still some gaps in Justin Fields' on-field performance, then you could look at maybe the Bears are going to move on. And of course, that was reiterated from WPXI, which is part of a group in Pittsburgh. And of course, Pittsburgh big fan of Justin Fields as we sit right now. So that leads us to, of course, is Justin Fields out? And we don't know the answer to that, but we're looking at it and we're watching. We will start to get some clarity tomorrow. We'll have our podcast, our morning podcast. We'll have maybe a little bit more information, or at least we'll have the information about the start of the combine. We'll start to get statistics about some of these players, how they develop, how they're looking, and maybe we'll have some clarity on what's happening. But for now, we don't. But let's move on to the next article, and that is Mongo is home. Steve Mongo McMichael has gone home. He is released from the hospital. He was admitted on February 15. When he gets home, he will receive treatment via IVs and have around-the-clock care from a nurse. So wishing Steve Mongo McMichael all the best. According to Misty, he's one tough guy. He's Mongo, and his DNA is just different. So wishing Mongo all the best. Certainly one of the greats for the Chicago Bears of all time. But let's move on to different news. And I want to preface this with everything that I give you when I give you any information about the Chicago Bears is purely my opinion. It is not the gospel of the Chicago Bears, the belief of Ryan Poles, or anybody else within the organization. It is merely my opinion. And my opinion is very simple here. What you see on the screen right now are the draft picks for the Chicago Bears for the year 2024. In round one, you have the first overall pick you got from the Panthers. Then you have the 9th overall pick. Then in the third round, you have no second round picks. You have a third round pick, the 75th overall. Then the fourth, you have 110 and 122. And then in the fifth, you have 142. So you have a total of 6 picks. And the question would be, are you capable of building in the draft with this type? Or how deep and how heavy are you now obligated to go into free agency if, in fact, you decide that number 1 and the number 9 are going to be spent drafting a quarterback and a wide receiver? Because it should be known that if you pass on Marvin Harrison, who is the generational talent in this draft, if you pass on Marvin Harrison, you still, by getting Caleb Williams, need a wide receiver. And if you bring in a high price wide receiver, you're paying a high price wide receiver. A lot of what's going on right now, just to me, doesn't make sense for Ryan Poles. It is my opinion that Ryan Poles is better served and would be better served by sticking with Justin Fields. Now, that does make me something of a Justin Fields fan, and I would freely admit that I am a fan of Justin Fields. I think that he's been a great leader for Chicago. He's been a great leader for the team. I think that he's done enough that it would warrant to me without hesitation that he be given the opportunity. But that's not my decision to make. That's just my opinion to give. Ryan Poles has to make a decision, but to me, if Ryan Poles is the master of the draft, if he is the guy that's able to stack the picks and who's able to make all of the moves, then every draft generator and the fact that he's laid out how much it would cost to take that number one draft pick away from somebody from like him, the capital that it would take would give him tremendous ability to make some very bold moves. Now, a lot has been mentioned about the Commanders wanting to move up to make sure they get their guy. And what would they be willing to give up? They would be willing to give up, I think, the number 34 pick and the number 36, the number 34 pick. They have a lot of draft capital, and you would be getting the second overall pick, which you could then use again, assuming that we're moving in a direction where we're trying to maximize that. At the number 2 pick, you could still take Drake May because we do know that the Commanders, by hiring Cliff Kingsbury, are most likely going to choose Caleb Williams. So then you have Drake May out there, or you can go for Marvin Harrison. Now, Marvin Harrison fixes your offense in a myriad of different ways, and then that buys you the draft capital to continue to build your team with several more draft picks that you would get. Now, in the event that you could then drop down and make a trade with New England, you would also be able to pick up more draft capital and rebuild this team. And here's the thing, something that we talk about not nearly enough, but we're starting to really see this is a very loaded draft. From quarterback, you have Caleb Williams, you have Drake May, you have Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, you have JJ McCarthy, the national championship winner, you have Michael Penix coming out, you have Bo Nix coming out. You have a very deep quarterback draft, but you also have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Roma Dunze, you have Malik Neighbors, you have you have Keon Coleman, you have a very deep wide receiver draft. You have what might be one of the more talented tight ends in the last 5 years in Brock Bowers that's available. You have Joe Alt, a phenomenal offensive You have some really great players. And as you go deeper into this draft, you've got the edge rushers, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Luatu Latu, Darius Robinson. You've got a very deep draft in a lot of different places. You've got Jackson Powers Johnson. You've got Zach Frazier at the center position, all needs of the Chicago Bears. You've got an amazing draft on your hands. And it would be a shame if you did not mine it and farm it for the best potential players. Now, here's what I would posit to you as somebody just giving their opinion. It doesn't matter whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams at quarterback next year. The Chicago Bears have put themselves in a position to be a playoff team. If they do just what they're now capable of doing by virtue of the team that they have, they are a playoff contender. The question would then be, how deep can they get into the playoffs and how good can they be in the run up for the playoffs? And Caleb Williams, tremendous upside. Justin Fields, still tremendous upside. We haven't had the vision of Justin Fields being coached the way Justin Fields should be coached, and that's regretful because Luke Getsy tried to make Justin Fields something that he was not. He tried to turn him into the dropback passer that he hoped that he could be to run Luke Getsy's offense, and he wasted his time. He just wasted his time. Would Shane Waldron and Kerry Joseph do the same thing? I don't think so. I think they play to the strengths because they want success. They want winning. They don't need the scheme that you want him to have. They need the scheme that he's capable of executing. So if the decision is made, Justin Fields is going to be just fine under this regime. Caleb Williams is going to be just fine under this regime. It would just be a shame if you choose Caleb Williams and he's not the generational talent that a few people think he is. And I do want to, it's, I should say more than a few, that they think that he is. But there's enough people out here who are doubters, who are in high places, that also understand fundamentally it very well could be that he's not. But if the thing is, Marvin Harrison, there's no doubt about who he is and what he does. So I would feel bad if we were to miss on that generational talent in Marvin Harrison and not be able to use that number one pick to get draft picks. But if we pick that guy, if we go with with Caleb Williams, we're gonna have less depth, if you will, from the draft. But I still think, I mean, again, we're as an organization, we're gonna be fine. But I'm really curious to know what it is that you think of this. And if you like Caleb Williams, you're not gonna like my opinion because you want me to say I don't like Justin. We have to move on, but I disagree. It's not one or the other to me. It's what's best for the Bears. I think the Bears being able to draft down and pick up Marvin Harrison Jr. and then by virtue having two more draft picks, whereby you could grab a Jared Verse or a Brock Bowers or a Latu Latu or anybody at that number 9 pick. And then in the second round, you'll be able to pick up Jackson Powers Johnson. Most probably he's going to be gone, but you'll be able to pick up Zach Frazier or Darius Robinson as an edge rusher. You really have a lot of options that you will not have if you do what the Bears have right here with the 6 draft picks. You have 2 first round, great. No second round, 1 third round, 2 fourth rounds. A lot of really, really, really great players are available this year, particularly, that are not going to be available next year. But again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope that the Bears do a great job. I think that Ryan Poles has done a fantastic job so far. So I hope that he continues. But I'm nervous about only having 6 picks in this draft. And I would like to see 2 first round picks, 2 second round picks, 2 third round picks, maybe 3 in some of these rounds to get the best possible base for this team going forward and into the future. And look, I think the Bears can be a Super Bowl contender next year, no matter who the quarterback is. They can be a Super Bowl contender. They will have a more legitimate defense. They will have a much better offense. They will be young. They will be hungry. They will be strong. They should be focused and made for success. But with a draft like this, they're going to be that much better for that much longer because they won't have to go into free agency and start paying large amounts of money. And maybe, just maybe, they can slow down on the $25 million men that they're out here continuing to pay. That gives them an opportunity to pay Justin Fields if they want to. That gives them an opportunity to move on to Caleb Williams if they want to. But keeping the payroll low, keeping the value of the players high, I think is paramount at this point. And there's nothing against Caleb Williams. This is all about what's best for the Bears. And in my opinion, more draft picks is better for the Bears. But again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Bear down, and we'll see you again on Monday.